to down the slope at a slightly later time than advertised due to some technical difficulties by myself. I am once again joined by Liam and Craig, and Hibs are 17 games unbeaten. Every week we sign this off saying that we are going to be back as Hibs remain X amount of games unbeaten, and every week they keep delivering it for us, Liam. Just how good was that performance yesterday?
It was pretty much the sort of complete performance, wasn't it? Very, very comfortable. The only sort of slight maybe worry, I suppose, was when you stayed 1-0 despite us creating lots and lots of chances. But subs came on and saw the game off, which was fantastic. Great day at the office.
Craig, Craig, you've been telling us now for 3 or 4 months that we're due to lose a game. Are we just going to go the rest of the season making you look like a tit and
I
finish the
fucking hope
game?
so. I really hope so. That would be class. It's it's bizarre, enjoyable, just weird going to Easter Road, absolutely buzzing for a football game now. It become a wee bit of a chore at the start of the season, but it's an absolute joy at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it is. Liam, when we were speaking after the game yesterday, you said like we can't stop talking about the turnaround, and I'd sort of said last week that it was starting to annoy me talking about the turnaround, but like, it probably is wrong to not still just remember where we were 3 or 4 months ago. Where now we're looking at this going, we could potentially be maybe 7 points from European foot, like group stage football, depending on how results go. What a time! Have you got a stat for us? How many years is it now?
It's still the same. It's still
Okay.
1947-48 season, but we've leveled with that season. So it was 17 games is what we achieved. I've done a wee bit of digging since last week, and I don't believe we've ever gone 18 games unbeaten, even
Okay.
pre-war. So it would obviously, if we were to go one more game, I think that would be a new club record, which is obviously a pretty heavy incentive in terms of really putting your name in the history book in ink. So I obviously, uh, I put too much on it, but obviously that first game after the split, which is already a very big game, becomes an even bigger game.
Yeah. I mean, Craig, I heard after the game as well that if we're now just one shy of the best unbeaten running that Celtic put together this season as well. So if we were to go up to Pittodrie and well avoid defeat, but ideally win, then it would be the joint longest unbeaten run with anything that the sort of champions elect have put together. And you'd think Celtic are sort of a level above everyone in the league financially, whereas Hibs are, we don't have that luxury. Certainly not this season as well. It was quite well documented what we did or didn't spend in the summer. Like I think it's worth the hype, isn't it? Like all the sort of what the clubs put out after the game and stuff. It's very much worth it.
It's absolutely worth the hype. As Hibs fans, I don't know, we've been banging that drum, particularly Liam as well, going on about last week how unbelievable a run it is, and how these runs just don't happen very often for Hibs. So it's definitely worth the hype
Hmm.
because we probably will not see it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, let's get on to this game. Same team for the third game in a row. Um, Same result. 3 points for Hibs, clean sheet, multiple goals scored. Before the game, I think the pair of you definitely would have wanted to see Bowie come in. I was probably more relaxed about that. Do you think the decision to go with the same team was vindicated in the first 45, Craig?
Yeah, I thought we were good. I thought we were good. I know we were talking a wee bit in the group chat at half time. Obviously, there's no secret that the main kind of talking point team wise was going to be Bowie or Miko. We knew that before the game. Obviously, Miko starts, and to be fair, I was quite impressed. I thought it was one of his better games. I know maybe he has that the chance where it hits the post, but I thought he'd done okay in the end. It was fairly unlucky for me.
Hmm.
Uh, I know maybe others have other opinions, but I would put that down as unlucky. I think he's done enough. Uh, and I thought his all-round hold-up play was so much better yesterday, and link-up play was so much better than it has been in the past, which isn't, to be fair, a particularly high bar because it's been shocking in at points this season. But yesterday I was impressed. Yeah, just mo more so his hold-up play than
Hmm.
actually even like scoring goals or attempts on target or anything like that.
Yeah. Craig sort of spoke quite a bit there about Miko Liam. I'm with Craig. I think he is fairly unlucky with the attempt that hits the post. He should score, but it sort of hits the inside of the post and comes out, doesn't it? And I mean, I think on another day that can hit the post and go in. Do you know, like I think I think he's unfortunate. I feel I can hear you saying something recently about someone being unlucky that they've hit the inside of the post, and I
Mm,
was like,
yeah,
but I cannot think of what on earth that was in relation to. It
I,
might not even have been a
He's not
Hibs
having
game.
it.
Like,
I can't remember what I had for my dinner last night, mate. So you've no chance of me remembering what that was about. I mean, I did like I think I think we should reflect the mood of the fan base and focus on the positives after a 4-0
yeah,
win. I
yeah,
don't
of
want to
course.
go calling out individuals. I think Craig said the word low bar there, and I think that's kind of where I'm at. I thought it was a better performance yesterday, but it's the first touch he takes in that chance. He does so well in that link up play with Hoylett because he takes a ball that's really high up, gets it in Hoylett's path, and does so well in the build up to it. But the first touch is absolutely abysmal, and that's what
Takes
kills
him a
him.
bit wide, yeah.
It just takes him wide. If he takes a better first touch, he's much more centred in the goal, and he gives himself more of the goal to aim at, and that's why he's ultimately unlucky with the strike, is because he's taken it from a position that he probably shouldn't have taken it from. Should have taken
Yeah.
it from a more central area. Um, I don't want to focus too much
Yeah,
on him
yeah.
because I'm conscious that it's been a really positive weekend. I think he's just not for me as a player.
Yeah, well, that at that point in the game, it's 0-0. It'd been a pretty good start from Hibs. I felt we've started the first 10 minutes at least of the game really, really on the front foot, and then maybe Dundee sort of came into it a little bit. What did you make of the first half in general, Liam? Obviously, we get the goal from the set piece. Like frustrated to only go in 1-0.
I felt like the quality of the chances was certainly there to be more than a goal in front. Probably not just the quality of chances, but to be honest, other than the first 5 minutes, it was just complete dominance in every area of the park. Like there were times where it happened a few times yesterday where we lost possession and then like a pack of hungry men, we just went and got the ball back like they were looking for their supper. Like there was 3 or 4 players swarming the ball and we got it back. It was
Yeah,
like proper tenacious bit between the teeth. Like I don't know, there was something about us yesterday that I think we really wanted to show them what we're all about. Aye, I think tenacity would how would sum up some of the sort of attempts to get the ball back, but I just think in overall play it was such a dominant performance.
yeah, that sort of goes in line with what Tony sent us in on Twitter, saying that Tony said it was a complete performance. Goals were all top notch. Build up play was superb. Dundee had next to no chances, and pass mark and the sort of two chances they did have, the goalkeeper dealt with them, and pass marks for everyone. It was Do you think, Craig, that it was, I felt we really did start the game with a purpose and an energy that, you see, against St Johnstone, it felt like maybe we eased ourselves into the game and sort of we were quite comfortable with them having the ball, knowing that we were going to sort of capitalise on that. Whereas yesterday was much more front foot. Scott's just put in the YouTube comments there saying Chris Cadden drove the
Oh,
energy yesterday. I mean,
He was
that's
good.
yeah. I mean, he was unbelievable, and that I would totally agree with that as well. But do you think the point I was actually going to make there was that we maybe seen yesterday the total opposite of what that fickle football fan about their team thinks, where you go, we've got a chance here to build a little bit of a gap on the team behind us. We're playing a team at the bottom of the league. We're on a great run. There's probably people going into the game going, oh, seen this before. We're going to drop points here or that. Whereas it was like the team almost maybe even got even more of a lift and more of a buzz from that Aberdeen result, and we're just like, right, this is our opportunity here, and we're going to kill this.
To be fair, mate, I had probably every single thought before the game that you've just described. Uh, but if I was a Hibs player, yeah, the Aberdeen result, there's no doubt that they would have known about it before they went out. Like they could not have avoided it. That had to give you a wee boost going out. It had to. Sometimes it actually works the other way, and kind of maybe you quite often see when one team drops points, the other team maybe relaxes a wee bit because they know they can afford to drop. But luckily, we've got the bounce out. Well, I mean, we could have done that anyway, but hopefully that's had some sort of impact. Yeah, Liam said we looked hungry. We did look hungry at the start of the game. And to be fair, I don't. Yeah, Dundee maybe had a wee spell, but I don't think it was really anything to worry
I,
about.
I mean, it was total dominance, really, wasn't it? Especially in the first half, Liam. And
Uh,
I certainly felt a bit disappointed. Disappointed it was only one, but delighted with how we were playing. Do you know?
mhm.
And probably what this run's given it, there was at no point where I've seen this before. Do you know? Like
Mm,
I just thought we'll come back out in the second half and sort of kill the game off. I can see a couple players there already being mentioned individually
yeah.
in the chat. Obviously, Chris Cadden, like we said earlier, Jack Iredale. Was there anyone else maybe just specifically in the first half? I know you said that Cadden was sort of the tone setter. Was there anyone else in there that you thought really put their best foot forward?
I would agree with Iredale because I think in order to be so dominant in an attacking sense, you need your defenders to do their bit. I'm struggling to remember if it was first. I think it might have been second half when you might remember where Adewumi gets down the right hand side and
Yeah.
Iredale's actually kind of his second favourite really to get the ball because Adewumi's got a clear, almost
Wrong
like a clear
side, aye.
path. He's wrong side, but is I don't really know whether you describe it as body positioning or as just a sense of it. He manages to somehow get back goal side of Adewumi and ends up just swooping the ball away. It was so impressive. He did something else as well on the halfway line in the first half where I think it was away from a long throw or a corner where we looked like we essentially we turned over possession and again he looked second favourite to get the ball, but he came out with it. He just had one of those games where I think everything went right for him in a defensive sense. Again, and I say this every week now about him, but his usage of the ball was very good as well. Just he knows when to go long. He knows when to hold it. He's just a very, very clever football player. The more you watch him, I want to speak about Chris Cadden because I think he deserves to almost get a segment of his own. His running, his tenacity down that right hand side, the amount of times where he was in open space, he picked it up and drove into the space yesterday was brilliant. And to be honest, he probably should have got an assist yesterday
Yeah.
because I think Hoylett should bury that at the back. I know it takes a wee deflection, but I think a player as good as Junior Hoylett should maybe anticipate that and tuck that away. But no, I think you know he's been another unsung hero in this good run because his form has been, over the last 17 games, has been probably up there with the best that he's produced in his sort of 4 years at the club.
Do you think that we're seeing, because the player I thought was maybe actually was probably more in the second half. I think it was maybe a bit quieter in the first half, but I thought Miller was outstanding again yesterday. And do you think we've for a lot of this season debated it's Chris Cadden or it's Lewis? Do you think we're
Mm.
almost seeing the best of both of them, where like Miller is probably a little bit more mobile than O'Hara playing on the right hand side. It probably frees Chris Cadden up a little bit more to go forward, but Cadden's also still sort of defensively clever enough that it lets Miller go forward, and it's potentially having both the players there that are comfortable, sort of the entirety of that side, if that makes sense, and as opposed to Ora, who's more naturally just a defender, is just allowing both of them to thrive. They can sort of dovetail nicely, and because I don't think we've seen Chris Cadden be this effective before. I know he's played a lot of that game as like a fullback as opposed to the wingback,
He
but
was he was good under Maloney as a right wing back in the 3-4-3 system that Maloney played, and he was good in the 3-5-2 under Jack Ross when he first came. He's played all his best football as a wing back essentially.
mhm. I just think
Um,
so. Like it would have been Paul McGinn behind him
Paul
under
McGinn
Jack
behind
Ross, maybe
him.
who could probably
Yeah,
stay similar to Miller and their
uh,
comfortableness on the ball and stuff. I just wonder, like where you've
it's
almost got two players with this sort of very similar attributes, so it kind of lets them don't
it's
have.
interesting with the 3-5-2 in it because I think people jump to that being quite a negative formation because you think about it as playing an extra centre half and two wing backs who are potentially fullbacks by trade. So you look at it as having five defensive players in the pitch, but I would look at the way we're playing it a different way. Effectively, we're playing one centre back because
Yeah,
Iredale really is a fullback by trade. I don't think he's played centre half in a four ever in his career. And Lewis Miller's a right back, so we're playing one centre back. We've got two guys on the outside who are comfortable with the ball, both capable of overlapping and underlapping the wing backs, and both potentially, players who like to sort of, particularly Miller. Miller likes how you rampage up the park, doesn't he? Get an opportunity to do that chop. It's quite an attacking system the way we're playing it at the moment, and with the guy in behind the two, it's I don't like chatting too much about formations,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I think what is interesting about formations is the players that it allows you to put on the park at any one time.
Do you think everyone in the team, Craig, just now just looks really comfortable with what they're being asked to do? Do you know, like this time last year, coming to the end of Montgomery's reign, it was kind of a bit patchwork, and we were trying to have a really, really defined style of play of, the passing through the teams, and it just didn't. It felt like we were having to think about what we were doing. Do you know what I mean? Like a player was
Aye.
really having to think about their first touch and then think about where they were going. Whereas now it's like everyone seems to just be in a position that works for them, and we're seeing the best for that.
A lot of that's confidence. So what you're describing there is not having to think about things. That's confidence when you've got that feeling where you're not second guessing everything that you're doing. It just starts to flow a wee bit more naturally. But I think we've just got a good balance just now, kind of all across the pitch. We've got
Hmm.
even you look at the bench, we've got players that can do different things, midfielders that can do different things. I think that's been key. I thought Levitt in the first half kind of showed that, we've been critical, or certainly I've been critical in the past of Levitt's use of his physicality or his kind of lack of physicality. But I thought yesterday he was showing kind of a different side to his physicality in the sense of just the way he's using his body without actually moving the ball, just moving his body. It's like kind of he drops to the shoulder, sending defenders the wrong way, or sort of opposition midfielders anyway, the wrong way, and then spreading the play. I thought he was superb. But yeah, I just think we've got good balance in the squad at the moment, and it's a squad that suits the way we're playing because
Hmm.
we can mix it up because we've got that many different options.
Yeah, a lot of the sort of talking points that we'd had come in sort of before we went live tonight was more around maybe the longer term with the squad and talking about it as a wider bit. So we'll maybe come on to that a little bit later in the episode. So if we were just to jump back onto the game there, Liam, from yesterday, Chris Blacks had just mentioned in the chat. Thinks maybe at the start of the second half he felt we were maybe a little bit complacent. Then the changes turned up again. Would you say it was complacency, or do you think it was just a comfortableness in the game? And obviously, there's two
Uh,
teams in the game as well. Dundee are like I mean they've scored a lot of goals, and
I
would you?
genuinely just think it was just us adjusting to what they'd changed. They obviously made a change at half time. We were approaching the game slightly differently. And I honestly don't think it was any more than 5, 6 minutes where
Uh,
it took us to figure them out. Because I actually think the turn, us taking back control of the game happened before the
before.
subs came on for me. It's just obviously the subs then made it count in terms of the scoreline.
Uh, but I think it was probably fairly uneventful, wasn't it? But until the subs came on, I mean, like there's not really
Uh,
any real talking points there, and obviously Bowie comes off the bench and replaces Miko, and I think Premier Sports ended up giving them man of the match, didn't they? I know Rocky got it in the ground, and I thought that was deservedly so. Didn't highlight Rocky for any individual praise. Obviously got his goal, and it's just getting boring talking about how good he is at this point in time. You know what I mean? Like we're having the same conversation. He is an
I'm
absolute
not bored.
truth
it's
of a
mate, we
centre
could we
back.
could genuinely spend an hour to just talking about individual
I
performances if you
know.
want. I mean, we could. I mean, Dylan Levitt's not even had a name check yesterday. Dylan Levitt's performances recently have been very, very good. I thought he was
Yeah.
absolutely exceptional. Again, you know, didn't waste a pass. He was so good in possession. Such a smart footballer. He's now the player that we thought we'd signed
Yeah,
2 years ago.
absolutely. Um, anyway, yeah, Kieran Bowie comes off the bench, grabs 2 goals, gets an assist. What a finish for the first one. Lewis Miller finds himself. I loved that from Miller though. Like he started it. I think it was a long Dundee clearance, and he just has the composure in the middle of the park to bring it down, and he sees it develop in front of him, takes that on, and continues his run, and a real bit of composure to find Kieran Bowie at sort of just inside the box, but it's an unbelievable finish, Craig. Right?
I'm not actually just going to rewind it a wee bit to Miller because that's your right centre half, and he's playing as a left winger at that point in that move. Uh, how good is it to have players that are just playing with that much freedom that they're just following their instincts in a game rather than being so. You watch football a lot nowadays. Not that I can't criticise Pep Guardiola or anything like that, but you watch a lot of football, particularly in England, and it's like the shackles are on all the players. Like they're not allowed to step out of position for fear of they getting subbed off or they'll not get played. Whereas at the moment, we've just got players that are just doing what's right on the park at the time with discipline at the same time. So yeah, like you say, super from Miller, lays it back, and that is just. I mean, Bowie's already finished two like that. The Dundee United away as well.
Hmm.
Uh, he's just a powerhouse, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's just so powerful. He looks so strong, and I do not know how to describe it. Like that finish just describes his play.
I had, as we'd spoke to him before the St Johnstone game, and I'd say maybe we're just not going to get the best out of him between now and the end of the season, and maybe it'll be a little bit stop start. And I mean, there is probably an argument, to come with it if he does play 30 minutes and against more tired defenses that all his strengths are going to be even enhanced even more. Like after if whether it's Miko or someone else has sort of done more running earlier in the game, but the finish and the power he generates. I was quite critical that the chance he missed against St Johnstone. I felt like he just hit it hard, and I felt he should have scored. But I mean, the Dundee United chance that he scores that goal,
Yeah, he
and
likes an emphatic finish,
aye,
doesn't he?
and
Like they're
we've
all
spoke enough in years gone by that nobody in our team hits the ball hard.
no,
Well,
I know, I know. He's the quality of the two finishes really. We'll just cover them both, shall we? The quality of the two finishes is very very good. He he probably is, getting a little bit of an advantage on Miko in the sense he is coming on when defences are maybe a bit more tired. But then I suppose some of his teammates potentially would be a bit more tired as well. So I think it all sort of
yeah.
probably all evens itself out over the course. Um, can I just talk about the header because I just want to talk about the header because I'll love headers like that. They're one of the most visually
What were
pleasing
we saying
goals.
about a couple of weeks ago about
Uh,
Jason Cummins crossing for Brian
uh,
Graham? Like, oh
so good. I
yes.
love they're so visually pleasing. I think what makes it even more visually pleasing for me is when Nicky Cadden takes that touch to set himself, you ken exactly where it's going. Like if you were gonna like summarize Nicky Cadden as a football player, and someone say what's his strength, that is exactly what you'd envisage him doing. It's just taking that touch, and it's that whipped ball that it dips over the first defender's head. It's just, I mean, it's fucking inch perfect. Like you just can't deliver a better cross into the box than that.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. See, at the time, as soon as he picked the ball up, I turned to Mike and my brother, and I went, "Oh, it's a good ball already. I just know it is." And then both he whips it in right on his napa. I mean, Nicky Cadden has got has to already. He's only played 20 odd games. He already has to have some of the best delivery I've
Well,
seen from a Hibs player into the box.
teaser for the end of the episode. Obviously, last week we done our top five goalkeepers. Will Nicky Cadden be making our top five fullback list? That'll be an interest. I think he might be a really interesting one. Like Jayla's like for longevity and stuff, so you'll need to hang around for that as we come later on. We're talking about players coming off the bench there, and I am trying my best to keep up with the YouTube comments and everything we've had said. And it's nice to have a really busy episode because it is easy for us all just to sort of go quiet when things are good and be really noisy when things are bad. But the chat is flowing tonight. But I definitely seen a comment earlier talking about the strength and depth of the squad and it really helping us sort of carry us and see through games just now. And I mean, you've seen that yesterday for all three goals in the second half being scored by players that came off the bench. Two of them being assisted by players that came off the bench. And Dwight Gale obviously grabs his goal, Liam off the bench, which if you were to talk about the four finishes, of which I mean, they're all four very good finishes. I think there could potentially be an argument that Dwight Gale's is the best of the four. I th
Oh, it's very good.
Ooh.
It's very. I think if you're going to include the touch where he takes it away from Silla, probably is the best. Just for the pure strike for me, it's Bowie's, but yes, it is very good.
It is,
It is.
but he's got the power tax, eh? Do you know, because it went top corner and it just went in faster.
Gale's is quite signature Dwight Gale in the same way that Cadden's is quite signature Nicky Cadden cross. Do you know,
Aye,
like I've seen him take that touch and finish before in his career, like on the edge of the box, probably in a like championship Monday night game between West Brom and Preston North End or something like that.
aye.
He's had the ball fizzed into him by someone like, I don't know, Chris Brunt or something like that for West Brom, and he's just taken a wee touch and then just sent it bottom corner. Superb. Chris Brunt probably never played with Dwight Gale, by the way. Just
Oh, I
for
don't
any
know. Chris Brunt
pedants.
was there for about 700 years, mate,
I know,
surely.
but
Um, I seen just a few comments in the YouTube chat there. G, who I seen was watching in Poland, so down the slopes went continental, saying that Bowie has to get a game. So I think he's meaning, yeah, sorry, Nicky Cadden and Bowie need to get games for Scotland. And we had a comment come in from Billy King on the North saying, could Bowie be Scotland's striker solution? So I just had a wee look. I seen. I cannot even think. I shared a tweet with you earlier that showed Kieran Bowie's goals to minutes as compared to Lawrence Shankland's this season. So Kieran Bowie has now scored more league goals than Lawrence Shankland this year, and Lawrence Shankland has played 5.25 more minutes times. Like,
Seriously.
yeah. So Lawrence Shankland has 4 goals and over 3,000 minutes of football this season in the league, and it was Leashy that tweeted it. Sorry. And Kieran Bowie has 5 goals in 591 minutes. So Shankland
Fucking
has played
mental stat.
5 times more football than him, and he has
I'd
more goals than him. And
provide
Lawrence
a
Shankland was in the second to most recent Scotland squad.
I'd provide just a tad of context to that Lon Shankland has been playing a lot deeper than
Has,
striker, and he's fat. So
has he been playing the middle centre back in a three? Because the middle centre back in
nah,
a
he's,
three
he's
scored as many
outside.
league goals as him in fewer minutes as well. By
Yeah.
the way, lad, Bushiri's
Aye.
played significantly fewer minutes than Shankland this season.
By the
so
way, Bushiri, I know that I'm completely getting sidetracked here with Bushiri, but it's so good to see him scoring goals because I feel like he should have been doing it
He'd
before
never
now.
scored before this season. Like,
How can you be that powerful?
Wait, can we just talk about like I was talking to this at the game with my mates yesterday. Like the build up play and the 3-3 against Aberdeen between him and Gale, like the link up
oh,
play.
mate.
It was like Cole and York in their prime, like playing off each other. I'm
He's
like,
done it a couple
He
of
done it
times.
the
hasn't he?
weekend as well.
Like,
I think for Kukurevich's shot that went just wide right before half time, the ball got fizzed into his feet and he's first held the centre half up and popped it off.
the
Give him what he
composure's
wants.
unreal at points. Say like genuinely, like I watch him and just go, this guy is fucking unbelievable. Like, can I say another thing I'm loving as well? Is just I am enjoying Kev Bushiri on Twitter. I think he's absolutely quality.
Do you know, like I say, we're doing fullbacks this week on the top five. Like, obviously, Rocky, I don't think it's going to make top five Hibs centre backs this century unless we were to go, it's supreme recency bias.
Mm.
But see, if you were talking about like top five, like periods of form. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
Like this, and it is like I was listening to Sports Sound after the game when I was driving through the town to head up the road on yesterday, and it was Rory, Loy, and Richard Foster, I think, and I was
I
sort of
heard
like,
it.
oh, they're gonna, but it was like the first time where I felt that Rocky just got praise without being told, oh, he's prone to mistakes, or he's this, or he's that. They were just talking about how good he was at reading the
I
game, how composed he
think there
was,
still
and
was he's
oh,
got a
was that
mistake
right?
in him
Okay,
Nah,
at the
right.
there
start.
was.
I think there was.
Oh, maybe I missed that then, but he's just been so good, and like it is, like I thought he was clear man in the match yesterday. I know Bowie comes on and scores the goals, but anyway, we're back to talking about individual players. Fucking
I
hell,
wanted
like,
to I wanted to talk more about him there, Ewan. I did. I really was going to say something else, but it doesn't matter.
go for it.
No,
Go
no,
for
well,
it.
it was just actually on you touched on the
I
whole
started talking about
Rocky's
Scotland, mate. I started
Rocky's
talking
got a
about Scotland, then we're
mistake in
talking about
him.
Rocky.
Rocky's prone to mistake. Is this? Is that? I, as a Hibs fan, when I'm watching Rocky now in this run, and well, this season, I'll say, I, I've lost that feeling now when he's on the ball, or the ball goes to him, or the ball comes into the box near Rocky. I've lost that sense of dread that something's going to happen. I don't get that anymore. I
Hmm.
feel so confident in him now. That's obviously definitely partly to the run, and that's not to say that he'll never make a mistake again because he absolutely will. But the guy is just fucking dynamite there now. He's so good.
So good, mate. So good. Anyway, I was posing that as should Kieran Bowie and Nicky Academy in the Scotland squad at the end of the season. Liam, you I probably don't want to do
I,
you a disservice, Craig. Liam, you probably pay the most attention to the sort
I,
of Scotland setup. It's two friendlies, isn't it? Against
it's
sort of
Liechtenstein and Iceland, and I think given the sort of season he's had and the injury problems, I think the best thing for Kieran Bowie when the season
oh,
closes for Hibs is for him to rest up, go on a nice holiday with, I believe he's a parent, go away
yes.
with his kid or kids, rest up, have a nice holiday, and then I think we approach the Scotland question next season. I can understand the clamour to get
If you
him in
took your
because
Hibs
we're
hat
straight.
off, if you took your Hibs hat off and just looked at it from purely a
But
national
I'd
point
probably
of
say
view,
call
would
him
you?
up because we're desperate, to be honest. Like Scotland are desperate for a striker.
I've
They're
seen people.
desperate for a guy to score goals. I do think there's other options there that he could use in terms of Tommy Con. I don't want to talk about Scotland,
Yeah,
but
no, I
Tommy
know, I
Conway
know,
probably
yeah,
should be playing ahead of who's in the squad at the moment. But in terms of if you were going to go down the route of going for a young player, he would be one. I think I'd be quite unequivocal in saying Nicky Cadden should be called up though. I think he probably would have been in the last squad had it not been for the injury.
yeah. And I'm not a. I think the way Scotland play, I think he should be in a Scotland squad before Greg Taylor. Do you know, especially if we're going to, and again, not talking about the national team, but he seems more of a fit or more of a different option as well, you know, versus the players that are going to be ahead of him. Anyhow, it's nice to talk about Scotland players being back, Hibs players potentially being back in the Scotland squad. Any more business on the game, boys? I mean, I don't know if we've done that justice. Hibs have just scored 4 goals, kept 3 clean sheets in a row. We've won 6 out of 6 at home in the last 6 games, as someone said in the messages earlier. I do apologise who it was, but any more from you, Craig, on the Hibs Dundee game?
Not just fucking loving it, mate. I'm absolutely loving it. I don't think I've got anything else to contribute to it other than it was so good to watch.
With yourself, Liam.
Just a really quick one. It was just on the point about the strength of the bench yesterday. I mean, I think they were all probably, other than the second choice goalie, were comfortable with all those players coming off the bench. So the subs not used yesterday were Ekpiteta, O'Hara, and Alisson Amani, obviously the new January signing. Had a wee look at the squad when we drew 2-2 with them at the beginning of the season, and the bench there, whilst there's some good players on the bench and players who've been a big part of this current run we're on just now, Kenai Omegwa, Harry McCurdy, Luke Amos on the bench. You know, uh, Molotnikov started, Kwon started as well. And obviously we had the back four of Miller, Ekpiteta, O'Hara, Obita, and Bursic. It is a very different team now that we're playing. Obviously, a lot of focus on the system. And I've heard a lot of people say the personnel's not changed much, but if you actually look at the personnel that he's trusting now and playing now versus the
Yeah,
personnel who he was
yeah.
trusting earlier in the season, it's very different. He had to use Harry McCurdy quite a lot in the early period of the season. We're now seeing that the strength of the squad to come to the fore.
And I mean, all this, and I said last week or the week before, maybe we've been quite fortunate with injuries in this run. And I still think to a point we have. However, Nicky Cadden's missed 3 or 4 games there, but we've also been with, if you said at the start of the season that Hibs would be without Joe Newell and Eli Ewan from Boxing Day, or the 29th
29th,
for Joe Newell. But well, yeah, so both of them missed. They've played 10 minutes football between them, between the 1st of January basically and the split. And you would say that Hibs were to not lose a game in that period of time without the pair of them in your side, I think you would have laughed in the person's face. Do you know what I mean? Even if I mean, you'd laugh in your face to say Hibs weren't going to lose a game, but so I don't think that injuries has been too big a part in it, to be fair, when you look at the quality of player that's been taken out of the squad
nah,
at different points as well.
the whole, if you said to me at the beginning of the
I
season
know.
thing, though, while we're on that, if you said to me at the beginning of the season, or even in mid-November, that we'd have kept 3 consecutive clean sheets with a back four of Jordan Smith, Lewis Miller, Rocky Bushiri, and Jack Iredale, I would have genuinely, I'd have laughed
Oh,
at you.
see, if we just had been bad at the start of the season, third would be done. I know Aberdeen went on a howling run, but if we'd just been bad, no, no,
Aye.
just simply just been bad, and no even, no, just one of the worst. Oh, Jesus Christ!
We
What
had to
could
be
have
that
been?
bad to become this good. It's genuinely, I do believe in, and Gray said it a couple of times, the adversity has made us a better team.
Hmm. I think I would absolutely subscribe to that. It should make you stronger, right? And it should galvanize you as well. Do you know, like if you coming out of that and then sort of realizing how good it can be and how good they can be as individuals
From
and as a team.
from a fan point of view as well, it has made this run so much more enjoyable as well. Not like just from a competitive point of view, but from a point of view of the run being so good. Like you felt so low at the start of the season, and now you feel so high, and we've still got all this to play for. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's very, very good.
So top 6 fixtures have been confirmed. Hibs are going to play Celtic. Hibs are going to play Rangers. Hibs are going to play Aberdeen. Hibs are going to play Dundee United. Now there's just one other fixture. Oh yeah, Hearts made the right arse of it. 2 months ago we said Hearts were given Hibs vibes of last season, and boy, did they live up to that, failing to win at Motherwell on the weekend. And I just thought that was worth mentioning in case anyone had missed it. Just how disappointed are you that we're going to end the season unbeaten in Edinburgh derbies, Craig, and not going to get to go to Tynecastle and beat them again?
It was a double-edged sword, wasn't it? Lots of people are asking, like, would you rather Hearts made the top six so you can get the chance to beat them again, or would you rather they didn't? And for me, the correct and easy decision was no. I'd rather they didn't make it because I get to laugh at them anyway, and I don't have that sort of ball sweat there of having to go to Tynecastle and potentially watch us lose.
We
So,
could lose every game in the split and can simply sing mind the gap as much as we want
aye,
because it's physically impossible for them to
on
finish
repeat.
above us. Even if they were to finish with more points than us, if we lost every game and they won every game, still, it's done. Just honestly, it's just worth highlighting, Liam. I mean, get it right fucking up to me.
To be honest, I think it was an achievement for them to even be in the run-in for top six
They are just a
in
bad football
itself.
team, man. Anyway, we shouldn't spend too much time laughing at those less fortunate than we are. What do you make of the split, the way the fixtures have fallen, Liam? We obviously go to Paisley for a third time this season. We open up the split at home, sorry, away to Aberdeen. I'll just run through them in case anyone's missed them. I'd be surprised if you're listening to this having not seen them. But Aberdeen away, Dundee United at home, Celtic away, St Mirren away, Rangers at home. What was your initial thoughts when you seen them come through at 4 o'clock?
Well, I didn't love it, to be honest, in terms of how it's fallen. I think it could definitely have been worse. Um, I mean, I think the overriding thing for me is we're obviously going to have to go to St Mirren a third time, place where we have found it difficult this season because I think both games,
Only team we've
well,
not beat.
the only team we've not beat, and both games I felt like they were the better side. So I do think it's going to be tough for us. Um, I quite like the fact that Aberdeen game's up first, though. To be
Okay.
honest, aye,
Do you think?
there's a lot riding on that. Let's be honest. That's one of the biggest games we've had in quite a long time.
Arguably since the last time we went up
Aye,
there and COVID to seal third place. Do you think as much of that, Liam, is potentially the way that the other games have fallen as well, though? Do you know what I mean? Like the fact, like, do you think would you like to see the Aberdeen Dundee United game being a little bit earlier than last game of
I'd
the
like that first out
season?
the gate, probably. Aye,
Yeah,
or the second game. But
I'm more I'm more relaxed going to Pittodrie now than probably what it would have been a couple of weeks ago, just because we've got that little bit of buffer now that if the worst was to happen and we were to lose the game, we're still going to be in third place after the game. And
yeah,
then it's just a case of, if you can go and beat Dundee United, that obviously means that I mean, unless they were to beat Celtic, they're not going to be level with you. So if you were to beat Dundee United, there's a good chance that kind of writes them off. Then all you have to do is just match Aberdeen, match or better well, not match because our goal difference is that much
aye.
better. Just match their results against everyone else. So like, that Rangers goal was a massive boost for us in this race for third place, which felt disgusting. But
It was mental watching people in we were in Robbie's mental watching people in Robbie celebrate a Rangers 96-minute equaliser, like genuinely mental.
Craig, what about you with the way the games have fallen and Aberdeen up first?
I'm happy that we've got Aberdeen and Dundee United out of the way the first two games. Uh, avoid defeating Aberdeen, and then I think we beat Dundee United comfortably. To be honest, we're a far better side than them. It'll be interesting to see the head loss from Harry going into that one. But I think if we do that, then third's ours. I don't
Yeah,
see them catching us after that, because I think we'll pick up more points than them in the
yeah.
remaining three. So yeah, it could have been better. Yeah, it could have been better, but at the end of the day, it was going to be what it was going to be. So
Yeah, I was pretty certain that we were going to go to St Mirren uh, three times. Just I didn't see a world where we would. I didn't see a situation where ourselves, Aberdeen or Dundee United, would be granted a 20th home game.
it's
And
fair
I
enough,
just
isn't it?
yeah,
That's fair.
and I just with St Mirren being sort of detached in sixth place, that felt like the one that would get swapped sort of because I think the other two were due them at home, like or just the way it wouldn't really made sense to swap that. Um. Liam, we've spoken about predictions for the last sort of month about, what do we need to do to secure top six when we came out the last international break, to what do we need to do to be third going into the split when we as soon as sort of top six was ticked off. What do you expect Hibs to get in the split? But maybe like what do you think is the magic number? Could you see that Hibs need to sort of finish in third place?
I mean, 9 seals the deal, I think, to be honest.
Yeah.
6 probably enough.
hmm
7.
I
Not
was
really sure there's
thinking.
much of a difference between 6 and 7, really, to be fair, unless a team gets
I
2
was
draws.
thinking like 7 as long as the one is against Aberdeen.
Aberdeen, yeah, I
Does
think
that
that was the point I was trying to make yesterday in one of the
uh,
chats. I don't think I made it very well. Was that it's where you pick up the points that's the important factor,
mhm.
almost.
I
If you drop
think
the points to Aberdeen, Dundee United, but picking up against Rangers, Celtic, and St Mirren probably doesn't help.
It's a bit of a weird one. What about you? So you're
is
6 or
nine not
7?
mathematically that's enough? 9, is it not? Because when you think about it, we
Uh,
all have to play each other. So
9
all
would
the
mean that we would if we win at Aberdeen and then won 2 more games, Aberdeen would still have opportunity to take 12 points and there'd only be a 6 point gap. So it wouldn't mathematically do it, but it would, yeah, it wouldn't mathematically do it. Wait, did you say
uh,
9 points? Sorry.
yeah, 9 points because that would be us on 62, and they were on, so they would have to get all 15,
Oh, there you go, Liam. So nine definitely does it. That was
and they can't get 12 because we've got a better goal difference. So
Aye. Well, does nine
uh,
does is 9 points achievable, Craig? And do you think is will we see that?
it's achievable. I don't think we will see it, but it's definitely achievable because you win the first three, no, first 2 games and then beat St Mirren. Uh, I think I'll be honest. I actually think 4 points in the first 2 games and that'll be it. I do. I think it'll be so early because I don't see Dundee United getting anything off of Celtic on the first week because that'd be Celtic to win the title. I don't see them either of them picking up points away to Rangers. That was the only thing that I was a wee bit annoyed was that we've got Celtic away and they've got
Aye,
Rangers away. I think that's probably more to their benefit because that's definitely the easier of the 2 away games.
hmm
Uh, but I think if we get 4 points in the first 2 games, that will set the tone enough for us to pick up enough points, a draw here or there, and we'll be all right.
I do think one of the two will pick up a result against Celtic or Rangers. I do. One of those
It
games.
generally happens, doesn't it?
I do think they will. I think Aberdeen will feel in some way wronged by what happened yesterday, despite it was kind of their own sort of
Yeah.
shortcomings that caused it. I do think Dundee United could potentially have the tools to beat Rangers. But I think I wouldn't hate going down that last day against Rangers needing to get something.
No,
I don't think that is as tough a fixture as it once was.
I just
no,
don't
it's
think it'll come
definitely
to
not.
that. I
No, I
don't
hope
think.
not. Hope
I'm
not.
trying to work out in my head the 4 points thing because
Permutations,
obviously, because the first 2 games are the most important one because any games where the opponents can pick direct points up on you,
Who have Aberdeen got
obviously go
second?
important.
Do we know that? Maybe Liam, can you check that while I
aye.
blurb here? So, I mean, I actually had sand in my head done it. It's totally evaporated. But obviously, we go up to Aberdeen, Craig, and we spoke about this last week about the sort of mental aspect that they've seen. Sort of, Liam's just confirmed that Aberdeen go to St Mirren away, so you'd probably expect them to win that game. So you're even if you beat Aberdeen, you're only going to remain six if you win against Dundee United and whatnot. But anyway, where I was going was. I said, what Aberdeen are we going to face here? So we spoke last week where I felt like it would be a big kick in their balls, really, coming off the pitch at Ross County and seeing that Hibs had won at Ibrox and they were still sitting in fourth place. They've then chucked a 2 goal lead at home to who is their sort of biggest rivals against 10 men in the last minute in a game that they absolutely should have won. They then have a Scottish Cup semi-final this weekend against a Hearts team that will be reeling from finishing in the bottom six. Now, I do expect that they'll win that game. However, if they were to not progress in that, on the back of a dodgy Rangers result after the kick of us beating Rangers, I think we've seen enough this season that it only really takes one result for this Aberdeen team to flip again. So I feel like 2 weeks out from this game, we're almost heading into the unknown a little bit in terms of what we're actually going to face at Pittodrie.
I don't think they're. I don't, they've definitely turned a corner, but I don't think they're as good as us. That feels a bit cocky saying that, but I genuinely don't think they're as good a side as us. I don't think they play as good football. I don't think they play as varied football. I don't think they're as dangerous as us. But obviously, fucking anything can happen when you go to Pittodrie. But yeah, I know we were talking about that earlier. That off the back of a semi-final, you could kind of spin it any way you really want and spin the narrative any way you want. It could be a hangover, it could be a bounce. They could be angry and want to get a victory again if they lose the semi-final. But I honestly think we'll be all right. I think we'll be okay going up there. I feel at this stage with I think the goal difference for us is very big because it gives us an extra point. And I just feel confident. I do feel confident that we're going to finish the season third.
What about you, Liam, with Aberdeen? Like, I just think that's too. I know they won at Ross County, but just with the Hibs result being the way it was and them dropping, if they were to lose next week, I could see their arse falling out of them in the split if they lose next weekend.
Aye, I mean, it's just I don't really have anything else to add, to be honest. It's just all speculation at this
No,
point.
I know, I know.
Much rather they won.
Aye, to be
Oh, aye,
honest,
absolutely.
I would far rather they win that game.
Absolutely. I also have a weird thing in my head that I'd much rather Aberdeen won that game because one, don't want Hearts to ever win anything, and two, think Hearts might give Celtic a better game in a final. I know that sounds ridiculous that the fact they're talking about a team that are in the battle for finishing third, given a better, a better than what we've seen from Hearts. But maybe that's just me going. I didn't want to be watching Hearts and relying on them getting beat for us to get, group stage football if it was to pan out that way.
Don't say it, please.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yeah. So top six, going into it in third place, which is still absolutely fucking mental from where we were, sort of not even 6 months ago, what, 4 or 5 months ago. That will sort of wrap us up just now. We sort of spoke about the Aberdeen game a little bit there. Just give us a prediction because we won't be on next week with there being no game, with it being the cup final. Our next game will be after Aberdeen. So 2 weeks out, Liam, give me a score prediction before we move on to talk about some of our finest fullbacks.
2-1 Hibernian.
Yourself, Craig?
2 each.
2 each. I am going to say that Hibs are going to continue this run of clean sheets and go up there and win 2-0. I just think we look incredibly solid at the back. So, if I'm being honest, I would take any of the three results right now. I think I would accept a point at Pittodrie at this very point in time, Craig, as well. Anyway, last week caused some debate, not only between ourselves, the sort of listeners and those that interacted with us on Twitter when we published our sort of finalised top five list of Hibernian goalkeepers since the year 2000. I think what the end result is we're going to put together a team, of whoever the consensus number one is here. So just to remind you who our top five goalkeepers were that we landed on last week, after some debate offline to figure out how we were ranking our players. And fifth was Adam Bogdan, fourth was Nick Colgan, third was Daniel Anderson, second was Conrad Logan, and the goalkeeper in our Hibs team this millennium is Ophir Marciano. Craig, take us away with your five fullbacks.
Right. So earlier when I was making my list, I was messaging the guys and I was saying, there's so many names because I was on transfer market and going through the different squads. And
some real bad periods though as well.
Yeah, because when I messaged you, that was me kind of more recent times. I was like, oh fucking, he's making it into my long list. He's making it, and then there was just that dead period in the middle, like from like 2014, 2013-14 to 2007ish, that sort of area. There was next to fuck all in there. So it was early and recent. So I think probably one that we talked about earlier, perhaps the recency bias does win me over, but I'm going at number 5. I'm going for Nicky Cadden.
Okay. I think we're going to change this up from what we've done last week. We're going to run round it in number order.
Right.
I also have Nicky Cadden as my number 5.
Fuck off, I've got Nicky Cadden 5 as well.
Well, there we go, Nicky Cadden is our...
I deliberated over that one, to be honest, because I did feel like it was maybe recency bias, but I think for all the reasons that we've already spoken about tonight, I think as a fullback come wing back, because wing backs are included in this list as
Yes,
well.
of course. Yes, sorry.
I do think Nicky Cadden, just on that 25 game sample size, has done enough to get onto the list for me.
Yeah. Was he the one that you mentioned in the group chat?
Yes, he's got the least appearances out of the players I've
Okay.
picked, and I think
Yeah,
that's
same.
by quite some distance. And I find that quite difficult to make that decision, because I was actually deliberating between him, his brother, because his brother, I think, would be close for me in terms of top five. And Ulrich Laursen was the other one that I
Okay.
potentially considered for five, to have a bit of differential from you guys. But I just went with Nicky Cadden just on the basis of the vibes this season.
Yeah, so I pretty much had six. I would say Chris Cadden was probably sitting in seven for me. The player that has missed out for me is Josh Doig. And I went for Nicky Cadden over Josh Doig purely for his contribution going forward. Just with the volume, the number of assists and goals, and sort of actually the influence he's had on the team as well. I feel like Josh Doig was really, really good for us and obviously sold him for a lot of money, but the impact he had on that side was nowhere near as great as what Nicky Cadden
Do
has on
you
this one.
think Josh Doig would be in your list had we been in the games when we finished third?
Perhaps.
Because I think that does have a massive impact on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Who would like to go away with our
You go,
number
Craig.
4?
Me go, Craig. I'm number 4, Stephen Whittaker. Might be controversial, but I'm picking him.
He's also my number 4.
He's my number 4 enough.
Is it?
It's funny, after all the debate last week, the arguments about picking different players, and we've got the same 5 and
Aye.
4, which I think means there's a fair chance we might have
I
the
was
same
gonna say,
3-2-1.
Yeah, it's going to be the
I
same.
think the order might be different.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
The order's
think-
definitely different. I know
Aye,
it's going to be.
I
Right,
think the
okay.
order might be different. Do you want to talk about Stephen Whittaker a little bit, Liam? Or
I mean, my abiding memories, at that point, I was sitting most regularly in the West Stand lower. My abiding memories of Stephen Whittaker was a guy, probably in his 40s, who didn't look very well, shall we say, didn't look very healthy. Just basically shouting abuse at him and berating him all the time for his positional sense and for not being very good on the ball. But he was certainly when he first came through, he was quite a cavalier attacking right back. So I think when you're a young person, you love watching those kind of players, and he was really good going forward. I think, defensively at times he left a wee bit to be desired, particularly in some of the bigger games, but he was a great watch growing up. So athletic, covered ground really well, and went on and had a very different kind of career post Hibs in terms of the positions he plays and what he done. I think he probably wasn't the player that we knew, and when obviously when he came back to us the second time, was a very different kind of player, and I probably didn't have the same.
That's what I was actually
sort
going
of
to say.
affinity.
If there's sort of any like younger viewers or listeners, they might think, what, like from what they've maybe seen him in his second spell, but I thought he was a fan. Even then, I actually thought he got overly criticised in his
I was
second
going to say I
spell,
need to
but
cut in on that because obviously I was. Were you getting? No, that was probably pre-podcast, I think.
yeah,
Yeah,
he
that would have been.
retired. Yeah, his last season at Hibs, we started the following summer.
So obviously none of us ever got the chance to say it, but I'm going to say it now. Stephen Whittaker in his second spell was nowhere near as bad as was made out, and I actually quite enjoyed him when he went into centre mid. I thought he was quite good.
Except at Aberdeen away when he got sent off, and
That was never a red card. I was at that game. Never a red card.
No, just Mark. I hope this format suits you better. Mark Telfer in the YouTube comments saying I've not to go last this week as I changed my answer at the last minute. I hope this. So I'll. Do we want to share who our top 3 are, and then we'll see if we've got see what order we go in. So my top 3 are David Murphy, David Gray, and Lewis Stevenson.
Yeah,
Nod
same.
your head if you're the same. Perfect. Liam's face suggests he's not got the same 3. Interesting, right? Okay.
Oh, I've got the same 3.
Aye, right. Yeah, that wasn't order. Right. So my number 3 is David Murphy. Maybe that's sentimental with the
Sean
other
Nicol
2.
was right. He is underrated.
David Murphy for me is my number 3. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. I assume you've obviously got him higher, so we'll talk about him if you've both got him higher. Craig, who's your number 3?
Well, I thought I was being controversial by putting David Murphy number 3. but I've got my number three as well. Probably more so because the other two I hold so much more affinity with. In terms of quality of player, I think I don't think it's too controversial to say he'd be number one. I know certainly my brother would absolutely have him number one hands down every day of the week. He absolutely loved him. But I've got him number three purely on
Okay.
love.
Liam, who's your number three?
And David Gray,
Okay.
I think David Gray, an absolutely tremendous football, everything that I love in a footballer in terms of his tenacity, his will to win, his drive. I've talked about it on this podcast before, but when he came on against Asteris Tripolis in the home game, how the game turned on the basis of a right back's performance. The moment that we don't need to speak about because everyone knows about it, but just so many games where he was such a pivotal player for us, and absolutely would love to have him higher in this list. But there's a couple of players who, for different reasons, I think have a place above him.
So I have David Gray as my number two.
Right.
And the reason that I went for David Gray over David Murphy now, yeah, if you were talking probably on purely footballing ability, David Murphy is a better footballer than him. He played in the Premier League and, just had a career that probably, if it wasn't for injury as well, would have been a lot longer at that level as
Yeah.
well. But I think it's maybe more of the intangibles almost that you touched on there as well. He comes into the club, he's the first signing after relegation, he becomes captain very, very quickly, and I feel like galvanizing a club almost, from right back, scoring massive goals, like out with you've mentioned Asteras, the cup final, like
Yeah.
the goal he scores against Rangers in the 4-0
Mm.
game, he always scores against Rangers, but just like we'd went through what would have been at least 5 years of just real turgid football and captains at the club that probably should never have been captains, really, in my opinion. I'm not the world's biggest fan of James McTake, or I think Liam Craig probably should have got the captain's armband when he came in, and just. But when David Gray came to Hibs and just obviously this is offset by saying it was in the Championship, but the moments he provided, the performances in derby games, the way that his influence was felt within the team, I felt like when he did play even in the top flight out with his injuries and stuff, it was a noticeable difference when he was on the side, and that's just why I've went for him at number two ahead of David Murphy. Liam, so we've done your three. Who is your two?
The second's Lewis Stevenson.
Okay. Craig, who is your two?
Honestly, if you ask me this in a minute's time, 2 minutes time, tomorrow, like I almost cannot decide between those two. Probably the two of the players that I love the most ever. Uh, you're gonna push me. I'm gonna say Lou Stevenson too.
Okay. So let's have a little chat here. Well, Lewis Stevenson is obviously my number one. So I've finalised our lists here, and we're gonna. I find the fairest way to settle our top three here is to put the three of them out on a poll.
Fair enough.
1, 2, 3 on the response. That's what the consensus order goes. That feels fair enough to me for David
This is
Gray.
a democracy.
Uh-huh.
I've changed my mind already.
So my list was Lewis Stevenson number one, David Gray number two, David Murphy number three, Stephen Whittaker number four, Nicky Cadden number five. Liam, David Murphy is your number one to
Yep.
break the news. Lewis Stevenson, David Gray, Stephen Whittaker, Nicky Cadden. You'll see Chris Cadden there. Nicky Cadden. Craig, one last chance to change.
No, David Gray. David Gray number one.
Right. So talk to me about Lewis Stevenson anyway, boys, because we've spoke a lot about David Murphy there. We've spoke a bit about David Gray. Is there anything that we could possibly say in the next 30 to 40 seconds, Liam, that hasn't already been said about him?
There really isn't. There really isn't. I just, in terms of the kind of player he was, I just, obviously had that period of longevity because of the consistency of performance. Probably the most consistent player I've ever watched in all my years of supporting Hibs.
Mm-hmm.
Very rarely did they drop below a 6, 6.5 out of 10. Very rarely. he had some really exceptional performances in there, but what I remember most is just the pure consistency and solidity that he give you. Great on ball defender. We use the word tenacity to describe David Gray. Stevenson could absolutely give you that. Um, aye, just a terrific player.
Hmm. Is it? Do you feel like with this list that you have been able to be more objective than me and Craig by having David Murphy above David Gray and Lewis Stevenson? But do you think we've went
Nah,
more emotional and more
because David Murphy's a bit of a romantic for me. David Murphy's probably in my top five Hibs players all time.
right?
Just in
Okay.
terms of player, just in terms of the player he was. Um, just an absolute Rolls Royce of a footballer. There, he always makes my, you make up your 11s, your all-time 11. He always makes my team without a second thought against the guy that had 600 odd appearances for the club, which tells you how good he was,
Hmm.
in a sort of, his spell obviously with Hibs wasn't just like one of those fleeting English players that comes and passes through in a season or two. He was here for a considerable period of time. He scored important goals, scored goals in semi-finals, goals at Ibrox to win the game against Rangers. Um, but above all else, for me, I don't think we'll ever see a player that can bring the ball down the way that David Murphy could bring the ball down ever
Yeah.
again. Just some of the balls he used to get shelled at him, and it'd be fucking chest height, and he just bang, trap it. Unbelievable. And what a left foot.
Yeah. I mean, I think given the fact we all had our five and our four as the same, do you think in this little exercise that we've just carried out, do you think there is a very clear tiering here between four and five, Craig, and then one, two, three? Not to
Yeah,
do a disservice to Whitaker and Nicky Cadden.
yeah, probably. To be fair, if Nicky Cadden kind of goes on and plays a decent amount of games for Hibs and keeps up any kind of level of consistency that he's shown just now, maybe in a few years you could push him up that list.
Hmm.
Uh, but I definitely think it's fair to have those two, four and five, and then I think it's up for grabs who's up the top, whatever you feel like.
Yeah. Do you, do you know what I found interesting when I was doing all this research? Just a total sort of Ian Murray, David Murphy, and Lewis Stevenson were all contracted to Hibs within the same season in 2008. That doesn't compute in my head to be that didn't feel right when you were going through the list and seeing like just you're scrolling through squad lists and that just doesn't feel like that should have ever been the case that they would have been at the club at the same time, but or not at
We
the same
could
time, but in the same season.
we could
Was there
do an
any?
entire episode on the left backs that Lewis Stevenson saw off for the club as well.
I know.
That'd be good.
Was there anyone in there, Liam, that you really, really wanted in your list? Be that more a more emotional pick, or was there that you felt disappointed to leave out? Like I am thinking Chris Cadden. Like I know that
Uh
over this 4 years of this or so of the podcast, Chris Cadden's probably been your favourite, most consistent Hibs player.
yeah, I do. I mean, I do really rate Chris Cadden. I do really like him, but potentially there would be a scenario in which Nicky Cadden could move up above Whitaker on the list, and he could
Hmm.
unseat Whitaker, I suppose. But
Definitely.
I just think he just hasn't had the sort of big moments to, like, because ultimately what you remember as a fan in 20 years' time is those moments where the
Yep.
player made you feel a certain way. He probably hasn't had quite enough of those moments yet. And if he has some more of those moments, you know, like a goal
Yeah.
in the European group stages next season or something like that, I don't know.
I mean, obviously the top four players that we all picked there have all won silverware with the club as well, Craig. Which is I'm not sure there'll be too many positions where we choose we have that many players. Like where we've had that. It feels like fullback's been a good position for us, and it was certainly a lot. I was going to say a lot easier to think. It was easier to think of good players, but probably harder to put the list together this week than last week for goalkeepers.
No, I found it easier this week to put the
Right.
list. Maybe the top two I found more difficult, but I just found it easier from a point of view. There's so many more better players to choose from. Obviously, it's inevitable that you're going to have a higher amount there because
Hmm.
you're going to have 4 or 5 fullbacks a season to pick from, as opposed to maybe one goalie. Uh, but no, I definitely found it easier. It's nice to pick some good players. but to choose between a goal scoring, cup winning captain and Mr. Hibs, how can you, the only guy to ever win a League Cup and a Scottish Cup for Hibs, like how can you choose between the two? I just want to give them both it.
I suppose the debate's then going to come actually when we put this team out, who lines up at left back. So David Gray's got the right back spot nailed down
Surely it has to be Lewis Stevenson by uh,
because we had him higher.
we,
Two
we
years
both
had
have
him higher.
we both
When
had
a
taken him off
public
for number
vote,
three.
Public vote, aye. So so if David Gray wins it, whoever finishes second gets the left back spot. That feels fair. Anyway, we are now very close to just waffling even more nonsense and even more unstructured. So I think we'll wrap it there, boys. If you've not got any more to add, Liam,
we
feel
didn't
free.
do what we did last week, which was my favourite part of last week, which was naming all the bad fullbacks and
Oh
wingbacks that we've
well,
had.
go for
It-
it. Who comes to mind straight away for me was Mikel Nelom at Kelly away.
oh, Michael Nelson. Mine's is Michael Hart.
Oh,
Genuinely, pound for pound, one of the worst signings
played so
of my
many
lifetime.
games as well. Like played so much that season.
Really bad.
Do you just remember Jonathan Grounds?
Aye, a left back
Like,
for Birmingham City. Aye,
aye,
well known.
aye, that
Thank.
Neil Eardley, Adam Eckersley,
Oh,
I
Paiko
don't know.
Reras.
Faisal
I
Ferreras.
don't. I
What
don't.
was
I
it?
don't think he was simply
Mavrios something.
Charalampos.
Marveus, aye.
Marvius. Aye,
Had
yeah.
he just Ryan McGovern, Chris Black's just come
Oof.
in the YouTube
Aye.
comments, how we all
Roland,
got
Roland Edge. Do you remember Roland Edge?
yeah,
Nope.
aye,
Kind
yeah,
of for
yeah.
Gillingham, I think, under Bobby Williamson. Ginger, left back, hopeless.
Do you know one of my a fullback that's not been mentioned, yet, but one of my earliest memories of Hibs? I wasn't at the game. I was just watching it on the telly. Was when Dela Cruz scored against Hearts in the derby.
Do you know what? I did flirt with potentially putting him in, but more because of the player he was, like
After went
outside
to
the
Villa
Hibs.
and
Like obviously watched him at the World Cup with Ecuador and stuff, and it was mental. Like, and he scored those two goals against Hearts, which, to be honest, like I don't know what it is about that game. I think it's maybe because they've just got no fans in the ground. Like it was just a really bizarre game of football.
doesn't quite hit the same either. It's like seeing like the devastated this
I don't think he like my memory of it's a bit patchy, but I didn't actually really remember him playing very well,
and
like
then we
almost
just
ever.
sold
And
off.
then he got a 2 million move to Villa. Very weird.
I do remember. I remember seeing him in the World Cup in 2006. Did they
I
play against England? Did
think
they,
so.
World
I think he was like
Aye.
maybe even their. I'm gonna say maybe he was
Captain,
their
maybe?
captain potentially, or like a
Mental.
vice captain or something.
Absolutely, man. I'm trying to
Bizarre
think
signing.
any honourable mentions maybe for players that had they maybe a player of their ability that had they been a goalkeeper for argument's sake, maybe would have made the list. I'm like
Lowerson
a
would have got in for
Paul
me.
McGill.
Ulrich Lowerson would have for me. I mentioned him earlier. He was him and Chris Cadden are probably just outside the
Mhm.
up top.
What position do you think will be the most difficult to cement a five? Five players.
Striker.
Yeah.
Striker.
Aye.
I've had some
Centre mid, Craig,
strange
as well.
characters at striker.
Centre
Centre
mid will be
mid.
really tough.
I
Hibs
think.
have stockpiled centre mids as long as I've lived, and we've had some fucking good ones.
I mean, it's down the slopes. I'm sure we'll find a way to put Jake Doyle Hayes in there somewhere. But boys, that's been a pleasure. Hibs are 17 games unbeaten. Hearts are in the bottom six. We're absolutely cooking on the way to European football one way or another next season. Hopefully, it's for group stage football. But even if it's just a couple of qualifiers, well, who are we to be picky? We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. Thank you very much for joining us. Cheers.
On the Hibs.
Cheers.